What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about stellar Lumens today, XLM. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, my friends, and let's get into it. Here we are sitting at about 44.3 cents now. Last week having a very bullish close, up 30.5%. We have 5 days and 19 hours left in this week as it stands. I really like where the weekly RSI is, man. Bouncing, getting all the way this high in the overbought zone for one. That's an accomplishment. That's a feat in itself, man. Getting up to 95, 96 on a weekly RSI read, it's impressive to say the least, right? But beyond that, to take it a step further, you pulled all the way back down and you bounced right off the 60, which is what you identify as the bullish area of control. When you bounce off the 60, guys, that's a very incredible thing to do, especially if that gets you into the overbought zone again, right? Coming off of this, coming down here, bouncing off of that, it's just beautiful. I expect big things to come ahead. I wonder if we have an example of this kind of right here, right? Like you're overbought, you pulled back, you didn't bounce right off the 60 like you did now. It's a much better reading now, but this is pretty similar. Let's just see what you did in the price back here, December 2020. Look at that. Right here it was. This was your closing bounce off of that 60 area. You moved up that week 108%, and then you didn't stop there, right? From a low to an overall high, which ended the cycle. That was a 625% move, you know, from December 2020 to May 2021. So over the next 5 months or 6 months. But relatively speaking, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks later from that low, you moved up 5.5x. 7 weeks later from the low, right? Here's your low here where you're bouncing off the 60. You have a much more positive look going on overall. I mean, from the low, there's no reason, man. I don't see. There's no reason to assume that this thing is anything like less than $1.50, but genuinely probably $2 or more by the end of this next move, which I think will take place. If not by the end of this month of January, I suspect most of it will be by the end of January. If not, a good bit of it will occur. And then going into February, by the end of February is when I would expect, if not by the middle of February is when I would expect this move comes to an end. When I say this move, because a lot of people get thrown off by that, I like to clarify it. I mean, I feel like most people aren't thrown off by it now. You understand what I'm saying, but I know I have a lot of new subscribers, and thank you all for that. By the way, we hit 15,000, man. That's great. I'm very grateful for all of you guys. It's crazy, man. It's really crazy. I don't even know what to say. I'm just grateful, appreciative. But there's a lot of new people here. And with that comes a lack of commonality, understanding in language, right? With our words, you can say the same thing, you can hear the same thing that I'm saying, and it can have a different meaning, right? So whenever I say next move, when we're moving up to our next move, I just mean like this, right? Here's our low to high moving up here. That was our first move, consolidated, moving on to our next move here, right? So here we are at 44 cents. There's no way, I can't see a path that would bring this next move to anything less of a destination than like $1.50, $1.60 or more, right? And the general target is $2 or higher, right? And the reason we're getting this, again, just going back, 443%, that's kind of what I measured there. If we're looking at this bounce off of the weekly RSI, comparing it to that move that we saw here, right? From a low to a high there, 7 weeks later, you saw 452%. I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That'd be the beginning of February. That's basically the same move. That'd be at 170 or 170 pennies, $1.7, right? All I'm trying to say is that's the same move you made last time with this reading here, where you got overbought, which wasn't as strong of a reading, which didn't have as much volume, okay, which wasn't as powerful of a move, which wasn't breaking you out to new all-time highs, by the way. But this move back here that we're comparing this move to at least saw a 450% move. At 440%, that puts you at $1.70. It's just very increasingly clear, guys, and there's really no way. The more that you debate it, you can debate it if you want to, but the more you do debate it, it's more increasingly obvious that you will not just see $1.50. You won't just see $1.70, but you likely will exceed it. I think XLM being at 44 cents right now shocked the world, right? Back in October, moving up from 9 cents and below all the way up to a price of 60 cents in a very short amount of time, shocked the world. But what's going to be even more shocking, what's going to be crazy, is you are not just breaking out above all-time highs, but you're going to see a multi-dollar XLM, stellar lumens, very likely anywhere from like the next 3 to 6 weeks is my expectation. Probably in the beginning of February. But again, most of this move, I think, if this is the whole move here, we make that whole move here, I think most of this next move is going to happen in January. So probably starting, and it might have already started. I suspect it already did start, right? Last week was the ignition of this move. And if you want to invalidate that, all you'd have to do is close any given day below the 236. Close below about 36.9 cents. You close below there on any given day, invalidated. You can go below there. That'd be unsettling, but you can go below there. As long as you're not closing below there, it's okay. But to validate that this move is happening, or at least that you will see new all-time highs, all you got to do is close above about 58, 59 cents. Close above 59 cents, and it's on. That's when it's time to get excited. Though I think it's already exciting right now. Let's get away from this and look more at some other things here. So looking at the daily RSI, getting toward the overbought zone above the 60, but maybe you're figuring things out. You did just have that initial pop up, so from a relative low to a relative high, don't be surprised or sad if you pull back to about 40 cents, 41 cents. You're at 44.3 cents now. I kind of would suspect that happens. Let's look at the 4-hour time frame. 4 hours looking a little bit like, it topped off. It might come down and find some resistance. You did bounce off the 50 and then went above the 60 and immediately back down to the 50. That's not a good look. When you bounce off the 50 and you get above the 60, you want to get into the overbought. So when you see this kind of look, it can tend to promote oversold areas, right? Like here, you got up toward the overbought zone, but rejected it, got back below the 50. You didn't test the overbought zone again until you got into the oversold zone, right? So I suspect that might be what happens here, is that you go down. That could imply that today and tomorrow is a little bit of red. So don't be discouraged. Expect it, okay? And if it doesn't come, if you move up, by the way, great. It's definitely not broken if you move up, right? But it's also not broken if you move to like 41 to 40 cents. You could absolutely do that, and that's totally fine. If you move lower, I'm saying 41 to 40 cents, but I promise you, if it moves to 38 cents, it's fine as well. Okay, it's probably fine. But my expectation would be 41 to 40 cents, okay? And regardless, if it goes lower, it's going to be fine. But that's what the 4-hour would suggest. The daily kind of suggests that as well, because being up here in the 60s, it's a nice read, but you've been up here for a few days. Why haven't you done anything, right? When you're up here and you don't do anything, you tend to you kind of got to go back and collect yourself before you can do anything, and that's fine. It's okay. You're just figuring yourself out. You just broke out. You're figuring things out. You're going to get a higher low, and then you're going to confirm that you are ready to go higher. 3-day time frame. RSI looking bullish, bouncing off the 50 here, bullish as hell. But again, you can come lower and still look fine, right? You don't need to make this move right now. But as you get closer to this overbought zone, that's when we could expect this next move to really, really take off. And I say really take off. It's already, look at what it's done already. 3 days here, it moved up 35%. The last 3 days, it moved down just a little bit. You're already taking off, man, right? Like, this is what you're doing before takeoff. What's going to happen when you've got this to come in a very short amount of time, man. Looking at this on a weekly basis, the RSI here, and I'm sorry if you guys can hear that alarm. It's probably annoying. That bounce off the 60 is very significant, and I'm glad that we started with that, right? But we can finish with it too. Very significant. On a weekly basis, it does signal to me that this next move is just getting started. So week to week, month to month, look for this thing to be at dramatically higher prices. We likely will see, you're at 44.3 cents now. We likely will see this thing being at least at like $1.70, if not as high as $2.20 is my expectation. You could go a little higher. I suppose the highest expectation I would have for Stellar Lumens is $3.58 by the end of February, but I kind of doubt that's going to happen. But it is a possibility. You could expect something around 220 though is more the expectation. I do think you go just a little bit above 220, if not around $2 itself. Certainly at a minimum $1.70. That minimum just keeps getting shifted up, man. It was $1.54 based off this measurement, but I think off of what we saw today, $1.70 or more should be expected. So that's all I got for you guys. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I do want to do one more thing just for fun, actually. Let's just see. I wonder what a $2.20 price would be for XLM on the market cap basis. I don't know if you guys can hear that alarm, man. It's annoying. It's really annoying. And I figured it out. It's actually somebody else's unit. They just have an alarm, and they party all the time. It's a bunch of girls, and they don't turn it off for some reason when they get really dumb. I don't know. Anyways, $1.70. Was that what we were gonna do? 220 maybe. Let's just see if I'm thinking 220. That's about a 400% move. 400% move. We're at 13.46. That'd be 40. No, that'd be a 5, that'd be a 50. That wouldn't be around anything really too significant on a market cap basis. So no, I was wondering if that'd be like a $100 billion market cap, 75 billion, 50 billion, something like that, some kind of psychological area, but it's not, just for fun. But yeah, 220, that's where I think we're going. I got nothing else for you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.